Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is February 27th already, Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, the Level 1 recording of Lesson 10. We are about halfway through the semester at this point. And last week, we spent time talking all about, just making sure everybody is muted, spent time talking all about the relationship of this flying rainbow lasagna shape to DNA. So I described that lesson, and also I'll just show you very briefly. I might be sitting in kind of a strange angle because look who's over here today. It's kind of a chilly, rainy day, so she's wearing a little sweater and just chilling out on my lap. Talked all about the flying rainbow lasagna and how it relates to DNA as an intellectual exploration, with the understanding that that's like saying, if I'm telling you about music, you know, the experience of music is, here's music. I should turn it up a little bit so you can hear it better. You say, hey, here's some music. No, you can't even hear this? It's so funny. Here we go. There you go. All right, you hear some music. That's the experience of hearing music, but I can also say this is, C, E, G, and that's a chord. And I can tell you all about the harmonics and the sound waves and the way that that is calibrated together and why we call that music. So that's what last week's presentation was about. It was the what. It was about, with fancy pipe cleaners, what is happening when you do this flying rainbow lasagna dance on a genetic level. So I talked all about DNA structure, supercoiling, the RNA messengers, the chromatin in your nucleus, the natural unfurling of your DNA, the natural wrapping or supercoiling of your DNA, and flying rainbow lasagna as a new pattern, a new dance that your DNA can, be expressed, that new ideas and new dance steps can be expressed through your DNA. I'm moving my notes closer, sorry, that I'm squishing over here. So today's presentation, it's like a roar. Are you finally going to tell us how to do the flying rainbow lasagna? Not yet. I'm going to tell you more about the experience, the inner experience, because here in level 1, we have not yet done exploration of what is the Merkabah for self-protection, and also, wait, I have to scroll down for a moment here. Sun gazing. So these are two things that I'm going to mention today in this as preparation, like saying we're going to learn a new chord for a new melody, but we're not ready to play the melody yet. So please, again, be patient. Hello, Joelle. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to see you, my dear. Please continue to be patient because, again, I tell everyone in the introduction that I set up this class because it's not reasonable to expect everyone to just like eat a giant helping of lasagna and be an instant virtuoso. No, it takes time. So this is another step on the journey of you becoming your own personal genetic virtuoso. All right, wonderful. So, one of the first things I want to start off by talking about is, like scrolling through my notes, this is about the experience of doing the flying rainbow lasagna, and this is your starship. This is your space vessel. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit distracted, but I see Symbiote is on video. This is so cool. And is outside, and there's goats. There are goats on our Zoom conference right now, and it's Pedro's birthday. So happy birthday, and we have goats on our video conference right now. I'm really enjoying this so much. I don't know where you are, Symbiote, where you live, but it looks beautiful with the blue sky. This is the experience of doing the flying rainbow lasagna. So if I were to tell you like, hey, you know something, I play the piano. I'm not going to play the piano for you right now or teach you how to play the piano, but I'm going to tell you, what does it feel like when I play the piano? What does it feel like to have my fingers spread over the keyboard? And what does it feel like to see that music is flowing, from this experience, okay? So what this shape does is brings together the inner and the outer. And I've said that on previous lectures before. It is a bridging. You can consider flying rainbow lasagna to be a frequency bridge. And when I say that, I mean that it is a bringing together. Sorry, I have to close this. Nope. It is a bringing together of, let's say, like notes on the piano, a very low note. This is not very low, but a low note and a very high note. I don't know if you can even hear that one. These are two different frequencies. We could consider them different levels of reality. And there's a huge gap in between them of many, many, many notes or many, many layers of reality. So this flying rainbow lasagna shape is a bridge that can bridge together these two divergent areas of frequency. Like, for example, the realm of physicality, of dense matter. We are living in a world where light is slowed down from the speed of light and coalesced into matter. So that's like this lower level. But we can also have a bridge that connects us to this higher level. And lower does not mean worse or more evil, and higher does not mean better or more divine. These are both C. These are both a beautiful note on my beautiful piano. And the problem has been that we have been genetically degraded, and that is what has reduced the capacity for these two realms to actually speak together. So this is inner and the outer. When I define inner, and I did this on the previous class, it's everything that's inside of your epidermis. So I don't just mean your guts and your blood, but I do also mean your emotions, your passion, your imagination, your feelings, all of the stuff that is intangible that we cannot photograph with the camera. And we combine that inner world with everything that is outside of your epidermis. Hey, look, there's other people. Hey, look, there's hard-edged objects. Hey, look, there's stuff out here. And so this is, I talked about objective materialism. I spoke about the connection or refinement of objective materialism and the exploration of science and the physical realm into quantum physics, which then brings into the equation the idea of observership. That your eyes are like ovens, that everywhere you look, there's actually raw dough, uncollapsed waveforms of the fifth dimension and higher, and your observership. Everywhere you look with your eyeballs, you are making reality happen because you're cooking that dough into bread. And that's the idea that we got more expanded understanding in the early 20th century of how our consciousness creates reality, but not a full like tool paintbrush. Like here's the paintbrush, paint reality. Because everybody in the early 20th century, they didn't say, oh wait, my eyeballs are creating reality, so I can therefore create whatever I want. No, there was still this sense of disempowerment. Like you're just an actor playing the script or walking through the script and not being fully empowered. So now it is time for full empowerment, the understanding that you, as the experiencer and the observer, are not only having a minimal effect, you're having a profound effect on the reality that you're creating, and then to become a virtuoso, which is to say, choose the reality you want to create and create good stuff. I gotta drink a lot of water. So we're also bringing together the realm of, Einstein calls it energy. Einstein had his whole equation. It was always mass versus energy. So we'll say mass is on this side. It's denser stuff, lower stuff, right? And then there's mass, right? And here's E, energy, and that's higher stuff. And Einstein's equation puts them constantly at odds. Mass versus energy in the battle to the death. And that is not how I view the world. And that is the antithesis of flying rainbow lasagna, where all of a sudden mass and energy come together and they are seamlessly integrated. And what would that mean? What would the experience of that mean? It would mean that when we look at the world of physical matter, we're not just looking at dead stuff. We're not just looking at dead, stupid stuff that doesn't do anything. We are looking at matter that is imbued with consciousness. Matter that responds directly to consciousness. It's a new state of matter. That is what happens when we dance the flying rainbow lasagna. So again, this is more of an explanation, more food for your mind, but not yet the actual dance steps of how to do it. But I'm going to get into what are those dance steps that you're getting ready. So it's like, okay, Aurora, I have this piano. What do I do? Well, the first thing is like roll up your sleeves. Sit comfortably. And then stretch out your fingers. You're getting ready to put your hands on the piano keyboard. But of course, you have to learn the patterns. What are the patterns of how I put my hands on the keyboard? What is this keyboard actually going to do? So we're going to get into that. And if I keep looking off screen, it's because I took meticulous notes all last night and this morning in order to be able to make sure I'm getting all of the salient points. Okay. What you're doing when you combine spirit and matter is you are taking your world of emotions and dreams and thoughts and imagination and manifesting it into the outer world, just like painting with a paintbrush. And this is also very big because we understand we're on a traumatized planet. We have experienced a collective trauma in terms of humanity, being genetically degraded. And we've had many individual traumas. I don't know what your life has been like. You probably are not a Disney princess who grew up, in a glass palace and had no problems at all. probably, like most of us, you have experienced some level of physical, emotional, or sexual trauma. And so the challenge is, as we enter into this world of flying rainbow lasagna, where we are now manifesting our inner world directly into our outer world, we need to rectify and heal the things that are inside. And that statement is like bookmark what I just said there, because that's going to relate directly to what the level 2 presentation is for today. And that is all about the endocannabinoid system within your body as an analogy for the stellar network neurology and biofeedback loop between yourself and the stars, in order to rectify and heal the accumulated pain of the supernatural residue consciousnesses that are stuck on the membrane of death. Okay, so bookmark that for what that is coming up. Okay, I've spoken about the Merkabah. So the Merkabah is the star tetrahedron. It means light body vessel. Do you need me to show you a picture of what it is? I have pictures down here if you need me to. Yes. Squinty, scrolly faces, and showing you what the Merkabah is, just so that we're all on the same page. So this is my own little sketch of the star tetrahedron with the figure inside of it. This is Merkabah. It means light body vessel, and it is an envisionment, like something that you imagine and project around you by using your mind and your capacity to imagine. And so it's a inner exercise, and it's a practice that you do. And I have a video that's all about this, that there are 3 basic uses for the Merkabah. First use is as an energetic immune system. Just like your physical body, when you came here as a little tiny infant, you did not have immunity to colds and the flu and whatever, chicken pox and all these different pathogenic invaders that exist in our world. And so it was necessary for each one of us to build an immune system, a sense of a protective shield, just like our epidermis, that keeps out pathogens that are microbes that don't serve us on a good level, and still allows in the nutrients that we need to survive. I'm pointing to my tummy right now. I just had my wonderful cannabis smoothie. It's part of level 2. I already drank it already. My microbes are digesting it. Thank you, microbes. I'm happy that you exist inside of me. I want the microbes to be in there, but I don't want pathogens. So I want, like, lactobacillus is good. I don't want, like, tetanus. So we understand that in our immune system of biological physicality, we keep out unwanted microbes that are pathogens, and we allow in symbiotic, probiotic, good pathogens that we actually want. And this is exactly what the Merkabah does on a psychic or energetic or consciousness level. So you understand, just like it's essential before you go outside to have an immune system. You got to make sure that you're not going to catch every little thing that comes along, because then you will die. So before you do the flying rainbow lasagna, it is essential to get your energetic immune system running, so that way you are protected from invaders that you don't want to have happen. So I also say, doing the flying rainbow lasagna, this is a creative act. And I'll tell you all about what I mean by that too. But you should approach it the same way that I approach making something here in my studio. So in order to, make something in the studio, first I have a creative space. And then what I do, I come in here and I close the door. And I was saying to the rest of the world, keep out. This is my creative space. I'm doing something here. And also I clear everything out. That's what doing the Merkabah is. It is saying, this body, this energy field is my creative space. It is my studio, or my quantum laboratory for doing all of my reality consciousness experiments within. And I'm the artist, and y'all get to stay out and don't mess about. Don't mess with me while I'm artist at work. Don't mess with me. This is what I'm doing. What is the difference between the Merkabah? Well, okay, but jumping around too much. The Merkabah is these 3 different things. First one is immune system. The second use is the next level of advancement, which is as a tool for manifestation. And I haven't done that in level 1, but I've done that extensively in level 2, where basically the interplay between the 2 pyramids, the one that faces up and the one that faces down, represents an interplay between 2 levels of wish making. It's like a collaboration between yourself and the cosmos, your own personal desires and the desires of the larger thing that you're within. Or kind of like saying, if you're a musician, you're I want to play this. But then there's the composer, there's the conductor, there's everything that you need to integrate with, including the rest of the band. So you always have to have a rapport between yourself and reality. How does that level of manifestation differ from what I was just describing in terms of the flying rainbow lasagna being a manifesting tool for your inner to be expressed as your outer? And my answer to that is Merkabah is like if you said, I'm a musician and the cosmos is a musician, and we're going to get together and we're going to jam for like a 3-minute rock and roll song. And, I'm going to play my part and the cosmos is going to play its part, and it lasts for this amount of time. And then it's like done. The song is over. As opposed to the flying rainbow lasagna, which is like saying we are going to have a complete, all day long jazz improv session where the music continues. Let me just read what I wanted to say here. Many layers over time. That's what I wanted to get across. That flying rainbow lasagna is not like a painting that you paint in one sitting, which I don't know how anybody can even do. My paintings take months to do. So it's a very considered process where you lay everything out. Flying rainbow lasagna is similarly a process or a project that you work on over many days, weeks, months, or years, or maybe even thousands of years, that you're adding more and more layers. So the Merkabah, it's like, okay, Cosmos, let's get together. Let's talk about ice cream. We're going to do this, boom, 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 and then press run on that program, and then the song is over. That's what it is. We did that song. Flying rainbow lasagna is like saying, let's jazz. And we jazz all day long, and then we come back the next day and we jazz some more, pick up where we left off and jazz some more. So a big part of flying rainbow lasagna is this idea that it's like a dream, where your inner world of imagination is being projected into your outer world. And then you take what you experience in your outer world and it feeds back into your inner world. And you keep on having this, this loop of what you send out and then what comes back. And it keeps on reinforming, just like the way that an artist, you paint, and then you stand back and you squint. Artists squint a lot. And the reason why you do that is you kind of stop looking at the details and look at the overall thing. And you kind of think, how is this going? How is this going? You do that with flying rainbow lasagna too. You paint, and then you go out into reality and you have the experience of reality. And then that's like feedback. And you're like, oh, this is how everything changed. I rearranged reality and this is what I got. And now I need to change things some more because the painting isn't finished in one day. You got to add more and more and more layers. So if you've never done an oil painting, traditionally it is done by first an underpainting, a drawing, sometimes in charcoal or neutral colors. And then you let that dry. And then you do a thin glaze where you might just add in light and dark shadows and no details. You do not start with painting people's eyelashes and, the highlights on their eyeballs. That's the last thing that you add, those tiny little details. You start from the general and you work to the specific and you add layers and layers and layers. So another one of the points that I wanted to make in terms of dancing the flying rainbow lasagna is that you don't have to be a perfect person and a virtuoso who knows everything, even just to begin. So please don't be too intimidated just to begin. That you can be a beginner and not know what the heck you're doing, and you get to explore and you get to refine your expression with each new layer that you do. So don't feel too afraid to even pick up the paintbrush and start because you're like, I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough. But also learn to do the Merkabah and protection and stuff like that first before you get into this because, drink. Doing the flying rainbow lasagna, this is like doing acrobatics or gymnastics or trapeze work with your DNA. And I'm not an acrobat. I would love to be able to be, but I have to protect my brain and my spine because of the injuries that I've had. But it would be so wonderful to be able to be free and do those types of flips in the physical world. Every time a gymnast or an acrobat, goes out to do their massive flipping and, flopping and headstands and whatever like that, every time you got to take it seriously. Every time there's the possibility they could land on their head or, not do things quite right. You can't just be like, oh, I'm having a bad day and I have a cold and I'm totally distracted and I'll just do whatever, a triple flip and land perfectly. No, you can't do that. You have to take it seriously. You have to be like, hey, I got to stretch first. I got to get myself calm and centered. I got to make sure there's no obstacles. I got to do this on a surface where it's not like concrete. I'm not going to land on my head and die. You have to take it seriously every time. Or even if you're going swimming in the ocean or doing something like surfing, it's a beautiful expression of freedom and athleticism to go surfing. Every time you do it, there's danger. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to warn everybody off. I don't want to scare you off of doing the flying rainbow lasagna. And every time you do it, there is risk, because what you're doing is rearranging the entire structure of reality. So let's say you're doing your dance, and you rearrange reality, and like there's a thing that you don't want to have happen, like whatever, disease, death, manglement of a loved one, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't want to put that into reality. Don't panic, because in your expression, in your dance, there is also the eraser. You get to write things with the pencil or paint things with the paintbrush. And then there's also the eraser. So that's another, this is art. We're in art class today, and I'm your art teacher, and I'm teaching you that when you paint a painting, like especially if you're doing an oil painting, it takes a long time for the paint to dry. You stand back, you squint, you're like, that area is completely wrong. You can take a rag with turpentine and you can wipe that out. And you can be like, that whole area isn't wrong, or maybe that little spot isn't right, or maybe this needs to be moved an inch to the left. So that's the whole point, is that you as an artist and as explorer and contributor of your artistry to reality, you get to refine your vision and make things better as you're actually doing it. You don't have to know everything. You can respond in the moment, but you must take it seriously. You can't just be casual. So let's say you're halfway through a masterpiece, right? This happens to me sometimes. I've laid out the painting. It's all meticulously ready. I have all the colors and everything like that, but maybe I'm having a bad day. Maybe I like talked on somebody on the floor, like I'm mad or whatever. Or maybe I have a cold or whatever. My brain is just not together. And if I paint on a painting on that day, sometimes I choose the wrong color. Like, oh, I thought I was supposed to be painting purple over here, but it's supposed to be blue. And you do the wrong color on the whole thing. And then you come back the next day and you're like, oh no, when I was in a bad mood, I came here and I screwed up this whole entire thing. And now I have to meticulously scrape it off with a razor blade because I made just like you make a big mess for yourself and then you have to clean it up. So what I have learned is, if I'm not on my game, if I'm not balanced and everything like that, don't work on a masterpiece, work on something else. And then when you're feeling better, return to the masterpiece. So that is how I would encourage everyone to approach the flying rainbow lasagna. Don't do it casually. You don't do it for like showing off. It's not like that type of a thing. It is not, well, and now I'll get into this, I'm jumping around a lot, but the motivations of flying rainbow lasagna. So, okay, in doing the Merkabah, you are still somewhat in your ego. Like if you're doing a manifestation, I always use ice cream as the manifestation example. You're like, I want this. I want ice cream. I want Cherry Garcia ice cream. And you're like saying to the cosmos, like, it's like your birthday wish. Like, I wish for this and I want it to be like this and this and this and this and this. And I want everyone to know you're allowed to have ego desires. There's nothing bad or wrong or shameful with having, like, you have your own tummy. You are hungry. You want to eat the things that are good for you. And in that use of the Merkabah, you're in rapport. You're dancing with the cosmos as a partner, and you also get to say to the cosmos, chef's choice, dealer's choice, I'm open and receptive to what you bring to me. It's not only about my ego and what I want, and you have to do it my way. So it's learning that partnership. But you're still somewhat acting, when I say from your ego, because I know that there's a lot of like criticism of that basic structure in your body, that because there's all these schools of thought that are like, kill your ego or get rid of it or whatever. And I don't promote that idea. I promote the idea of refining your ego. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. It would be like if I said, like, I want to paint a painting that's got lots and lots of red in it because I really love red. Like, that's fine. That's totally cool. And then what you also do in that is you learn, like, okay, if I want to paint a painting that has lots of red in it, I have to learn how to integrate that with the rest of the symphony that might require other colors other than red. So I do that in my artwork all the time because I like purple. So I'm like, this painting is too red. How can I add in more purple without screwing up the entire music for the entire band? So that's what you kind of find a way to express your ego, personal, self-serving desires in integration with the rest of the giant symphony. And that's divine. That's good. That's what you're supposed to do. To contrast, dancing the flying rainbow lasagna, to do it is stepping out of one's ego. So this is literally the easiest part of my day, my friends. Okay, when I have to be Aurora in my ego, and it's like, oh my goodness, I have to wash the dishes, and I have to buy the toilet paper, and I have to clean my house, and I have to drive my car, and I have to do all these other things, and I have to do all these things that are, whatever, taking care of bodily, physical, mundane concerns, and all the things I care about for myself and my bills and my electric bill and my this and my that. And when I do the flying rainbow lasagna, that is the easiest part of my day because I actually get to have a vacation from being in my ego and all of my small, earthly, mundane concerns. Actually step out of that box into a much larger, expanded box. Because like when I'm in my ego, yes, I care about my electric bill. I care about my, tires on my car that I need to drive around. That's totally appropriate. When I get into this expanded, let's say, artistic persona to be able to dance the flying rainbow lasagna, I care about everybody's electric bill. I care about the concept of electricity and where it is derived from. I care about the entire economy, not merely my own bills. I care about how the economy relates to the ecology on our planet, because all of a sudden it becomes about the microbes in my tummy who are also being affected by glyphosate and just things that are sprayed in the atmosphere and all of that. And I become connected to beautiful organisms like the one that's sleeping on my lap right now and the trees that are all around me and all of that. It becomes a direct connection to all of the other musicians in the symphony so that it is not only about your personal beat and your personal melody and what you need to keep going on. You're understanding, wait a minute, I want to make sure I keep going on my melody and all of these organisms keep going on their melody. And this is my explanation for, or justification or whatever, because you can say like, Aurora, like you've been here for 18 years and you're flying rainbow lasagna. Why don't you live in a giant mansion? Like, why don't you have a giant pile of gold like the Queen of England? You sit on top of your pile of gold, laughing, like, having like whatever, some kind of a, whatever. I'm going to take rubies and throw them all over myself and laugh at all the little people that don't have what I have. Like, how come I'm not like that? How come I don't sit on a golden toilet seat? And my answer is because when I do the flying rainbow lasagna, I'm not just dancing and saying, give Aurora everything so that I have a super easy life, even though I want to have everything so I have a super easy life. Because life would be so much easier if I didn't wash my dishes by hand. I had a dishwasher. I could spend a lot more time doing the flying rainbow lasagna. That's what my motivations are like. My motivations when I'm doing the dance are for improvement and rectification and healing of the entire symphony, the entire system that I find myself within. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with being at the ego level. That's kind of like saying you're practicing your instrument in your garage without the other musicians and you're just getting good and practicing and everything like that. But then it's also like you don't just practice to solo for your whole life. You practice so that then you can connect with the other musicians. So Flying Rainbow Lasagna requires that you are sensitive to the needs of all of the other organisms. So that includes all the other organisms that are on our planet, all the other organisms that are on every other planet, the stars themselves, and the larger stellar network. So I'll get into all of that. Let me just consult my notes and drink a little bit more. Okay. Doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is a magical activity. In the same way that, coming into an art or a music studio is, and making just, ordinary or mundane art and music is also a magical activity. Like we need to elevate that and to understand that. Anytime you're creating something new, you are literally performing something magical. And when we do that as embodied, humans that are connected to this divine source of creativity and intelligence and life force energy, we're being like miniature embodied gods or divine beings. And there's this whole system that I speak extensively about that is an ancient artificial intelligence system of space races whom are reliant, they're like dependent upon technology and run by artificial intelligence. And they're the bad guys that are here, oppressing us right now and that we're fighting hard against. This is why you have to fly rainbow lasagna and rearrange your DNA. They cannot innovate. Those beings that are, have been oppressing our planet and many other planets, they do not know, they don't know how to innovate. They don't know how to be creative. They get confounded is the word when something comes along that is new. And so okay, no one's ever painted this painting before. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something new. And that's totally unimaginable to them because they are like, imagine a musician who's been to the conservatory and has memorized every piece by Bach or every piece by Mozart. And they're very, good at what they do, but they can't jazz. They cannot come up with something new. So every time you and I, I'm trying to say that our great strength, of embodied humans here, every time we do something new and we innovate and we create I want to call them the a-hole losers. They don't know what in the world to do. They shit a brick. They drop their drawers. They don't know what to do. So this is the strength of the system that I'm creating with Flying Rainbow Lasagna. It is a system of total innovation, always coming up with something new. So again, you don't do that just from a standing still motion. Like if you're going to do the big jump at the Olympics or whatever, you run, you take a big flying leap and then run and jump and, make however many yards. It's really, really hard to just start from, with your feet planted on the ground and then jump and do a big giant high jump or whatever like that. So doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, this is like doing a big giant high jump. You got to get a running start. Just like if I paint a painting, I got to get a running start. You know how I get a running start, how I get my creative momentum going for doing a visual project? First, I just get notebooks of cheap paper and pencil, and I just draw, and it's low risk. It's like, okay, it's just a cheap piece of paper, and if it's not good, I can throw it away. I can throw it in a drawer. Nothing bad is going to happen. It's not like, if I make a panel or whatever, I invest a lot of time and money into actually making that panel. I don't want to screw it up. So I start off with just my ideas, and that's also, there's low risk, there's low commitment. It's just like saying, in reality, if I'm going to Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I'm like, blah, blah, situation is totally screwed up. I got to fix that. I'm going to start off with just some cheap paper. I'm just going to start off with a thought structure that says, what needs to be changed? What needs to be fixed here? Let's just make a rough sketch. And then I stand back and I squint. I'm like, how does that rough sketch look? How does that look in reality? How does that look? No, this ain't right. This ain't right. Erase this whole thing. No. Crumple it all up, throw it away, and start over again. And you're allowed to do that. That is totally appropriate. And what you find, that's getting your momentum going. Sometimes you can also get momentum going by fooling yourself, by doing a side project. If you're like, oh, I'm not ready to do this, masterpiece project right away, I'm going to work on a little side project, which for me is often painting earrings, because I already know how to do it. And it's all set up. It's easy. So I'm like, oh, I'm just painting on this side project. But while I'm doing that, I'm thinking like, what would that look like if I put some orange there? What would that look like if I put some red there? And you kind of fool yourself. And then you're like, let me put down my side project and work on my real project. That's how you kind of get momentum going. So there's all sorts of different ways where you can, you'll figure out what works for you, your particular work style. So I'm like an art teacher here telling you, hey, this is my work style. This is how I do it. You will figure out how to do it. And then being creative as an artist, a musician, or a Flying Rainbow Lasagna dancer, reality manifester, it's just like being an athlete. So when you're an athlete, you get into shape, right? You run every day and your muscles and your metabolism are used to running. So you've got that momentum going. It's not like starting from zero where you have no momentum and your muscles are, not strong and you don't have the capacity to use your calories well. Like you've got momentum. That's how I feel like with any of these creative activities. When I do it every day, when I do it on a regular basis, I'm in shape and I've got that momentum, and it's easier for me to do it than if I have let a project go or haven't done it for a very long amount of time and you're kind of starting from a cold, dead motor that's not warmed up, the engine is not warmed up, much, much more difficult to do. So understand that just getting going on the lasagna is like probably, the primary challenge. Getting that momentum going. How do I even get started on this? Once you get started on it, it gets a lot easier. So the first time that you ever sit down at a piano, you're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to play. Like all of my music sounds like this. Cover your ears. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. That's okay. And, you keep going with it. Don't judge yourself too harshly. Understand that it takes time to figure it out. I woke up my dog by doing that. And every time you do it, you get better. And the cosmos allows you the opportunity to learn and grow. This is not the type of a thing where it's like, oh, you pressed a wrong note. I'm now the guillotine will now emerge from the Flying Rainbow Lasagna on top of your head. No, that is not what is going to happen. So feel confident that you are allowed to do your practice and learn as you go. And what I was saying also about you don't have to be a perfect virtuoso, like just to start off. Same thing goes with your body. my body is doing very well now. However, I have faced a lot of challenges. The body that I came into as a walk-in had a lot of neurological damage. And the whole one half of my body, I couldn't access the muscles for many years. Like I couldn't equally move both of my arms and both of my legs, or, my wiggle my right eyebrow or any of those things. Like there were a lot of limitations that I had. I want to tell you this because I want you to understand you don't have to be, in order to do the flying rainbow lasagna, you don't have to be a perfect yoga master that can do all of the back bends and super scorpion pose or whatever, inversions. The yoga masters are pretty impressive. I'm totally impressed by that. I don't pretend to be a yoga master. I can't do the downward dog. It hurts my brain. I can't bend down like that. But I do the flying rainbow lasagna. This is very big for you to understand that whatever biological limitations or neurological limitations you might have with your body, that does not stop you from doing this. So you can do flying rainbow lasagna even if you are quadriplegic or an amputee, or if you have neurological deficits, or if you have chromosomal damage, or you are have birth defects. That does not stop you. And that's a big example that I'm here in this body. I'm in a body that had a lot of damage. And if I didn't do the flying rainbow lasagna, I wouldn't be here like walking and talking. I would be a vegetable lying in bed. So this is good evidence of yes, this has allowed me to transcend these injuries and get better. And it took a lot of time, and it absolutely worked. So I'm here and I'm able to do all these things. And I also see my psychic abilities becoming even more refined and manifesting. Like there were a lot of things that I couldn't do in terms of lucid dreaming and perception in that dreamlike state, because I had a lot of these problems with seizures, and I find that I'm accessing those aspects of myself more and more. So all of that in order to say, first of all, I don't pretend that I'm perfect or whatever. No, I have many flaws, have vulnerabilities, have whatever frailties. To find a solidarity with that whatever personal challenges in your body you might have, those are not barriers to doing the flying rainbow lasagna. And as you do this dance, it fixes your body. It fixes your body. It makes you more in alignment with your true self. That's how I would say it. So as I did the flying rainbow lasagna dance in the 18 years that I've been here, I have become more and more in alignment with my true self. My true self as creative, like an artist and musician in this place, like who I am in terms of social structure, who I am in terms of presenting my body, or cultivating my body. Like I can definitely do a lot more with my body now than I could when I first came into this body. And also I've grown muscles. So some people have actually said that to me in my videos. They're like, Aurora, like you have a lot of muscles in your arms. I'm like, yes. And I don't do weightlifting in order to have these muscles. They come from doing the flying rainbow lasagna. So there's, I saw one time this one musician, she did, expressed her music through, I think it's called carillon. There's bells in cathedral churches, and you have to pull on these big ropes to kind of make the bells ring. And she was playing a beautiful song, and she had good arm muscles. That's what I'm like. I have earned my muscles by doing this flying rainbow lasagna dance, where I am literally pushing and pulling the levers of the cosmos. And it is also like flying my personal starship. So now we're going to get into that. And I see that there's questions. I'll get to your questions. But, I have gone to the gym, and I have done exercises like push-ups and, lifting weights and stuff like that. But at this point, the past 4 or 5 years of my life, I pretty much do the flying rainbow lasagna as my physical expression. And we do a lot of walkies together. So it's not just lasagna, but all of this in order to say that it's a very real athletic pursuit, and that it transforms your body as you do it, and makes it possible to do it even more. So, okay, I'll get to this question, but I have lots more to talk about, but let me get to your question. Danielle says, does the Merkabah always point to the center of the earth? Or if one is laying down, this is a good question, just scooped on by, does it lay down along the chakras? So thank you for that wonderful question. The Merkabah, because it is about envisionment, it's not a physical thing. We are not building a physical pyramid around the body. So it is more about your mental image that you're projecting and how that relates to the earth and to the planet. So the answer is you can do the Merkabah lying down, standing up, in a box, with a fox, with green eggs and ham, in any position that you need to. And that's actually essential to understand. Like sometimes I have to do the Merkabah when I'm driving my car and my arms are out like this and I'm kind of in a semi-reclined position. Sometimes I do the Merkabah as I've leaned down to go to bed, protecting myself, protecting my home, protecting my property, and even, my little town before I go into my dream state. So the best, and I wasn't always this adept with my Merkabah visualization. When I first started out, it was much more essential for me to have my physical body in the right positions. And now that I've made like an imprint in my mind, I can feel what it feels like. So my physical body can be almost in any position and I can do the Merkabah. So you get better at visualizing it. So if you are, so your question was, the visualization of Merkabah, the downward point, that vertex is always going to touch the the earth. But it doesn't matter which direction your spine is facing. Your spine can be laying down, your spine can be standing up, your spine can be at a 45-degree angle because you're kind of reclining, driving your car. The physicality is not what matters. What matters is what you're projecting with your mind, because we are moving into a realm that is made of, it's a mind-created realm. I'm going to sing now. World of pure imagination. We're going into the world of pure imagination. And that does not mean it's an unreal realm. It's a very real place that is not the level of materiality that we are used to, but is still has some level of materiality. So wait, there's many more questions, but I have much more to say. But let me go to Pop. Pop Fizz says, and hello, good to see you. Thank you for being here in the class. Says, my understanding is that structurally the FRL is made by vibrating the 0 point, the singularity in space and or time. In order to do this well, it would seem that we need to be standing in and as that point of infinite awareness, while at the same time using the rest of the rainbow of our embodied being, body, and imagination to animate the FRL and enact it. So in this sense, the enactment seems as paradoxical as it is possible. Very interesting. I like your description of that. Very, very good. Because you're talking about the color recipe. All of these colors add up to white light. All of these colors add up to the singularity. And what we're talking about is, how do we get that singularity vibrating? This is how you do the dance. Oh, good, good, good. It's a magical activity is what I'm trying to say. You do the dance of the flying rainbow lasagna when you get that convergence point, that singularity where I'm pointing my pinky right in there. The sculpture is a little broken. That singularity gets vibrating, gets dancing, and becomes this. How do we initiate that? What is the little spark that makes that happen? That's the crucial thing. So, okay, hold on a second. My notes. And that's the magical activity. That is the thing that is totally unimaginable, inconceivable from the AI point of view. From the AI point of view, when we take this singularity point and we start to make it jump up and down, it's like steam coming out of its ears. Does not compute. What the heck is going on? I don't know what is going on. So this is literally our tool for freedom. Because, this is lesson 18 that cat's out of the bag. Our planet has been horribly invaded. We've been genetically degraded. And we're at this crucial boiling point here where we need to effing do something. And the answer is jump into a higher dimension. The answer is not to write a petition, call your local politician, or vote differently, vote for a different political party. No! The answer is to oscillate your DNA into a higher dimensional experience and transform reality, and do it in a very artistic, way as a virtuoso, where you're creating a beautiful dream. And this is the question, the magical activity. What incepts that? What makes that purple dot start to jump up and down so that now it's down here and it's up here? That's the magical activity. This is why you have to get some momentum going. Because to do any magical activity, you got to get in the mood. So now I'll do a description now, even though this is not the how to do flying rainbow lasagna lesson. We'll get to that in several weeks. But this is about what my personal practice is like. So like I said, hey, how do I do my painting practice? Oh yeah, first I get up in the morning, I drink a cup of coffee, I take my dog for a walk because she needs exercise. Then I come into the studio, and what do? I close the door, I keep out the world, I turn on the lights, and I turn on, the heat or the air conditioning. You get the place comfortable. You got to do that. And I put on some awesome music, and depending upon, my feelings or whatever, I might put on aromatic diffuser of an essential oil, put a good smell into the air, basically fill the atmosphere. You're making a particular personal energy field that you use, that each one of us uses to do this magical activity. And I put on wonderful music that inspires me. Whatever inspires you is your personal thing. I can share my playlist, but my musical tastes are probably different. And then, in order to do this jumping up and down, it's just like the excitement of an electron. And I'll draw this for you. We'll do a little bit of using diagrams because I've done this before on this class. The excitement of an electron as it jumps from one shell to the next shell. So here's the nucleus of an atom. Here is the first electron shell, and here is the second electron shell. And we understand that this is a cross section. The electron shell is not just a ring like an orbit. It is actually a sphere. And this blue dot over here is an electron, and that's like you and me, and we are living at a particular level of excitation and level of perception and experience. And in order to get to here, where the X is, we have to do what is called the quantum leap. Quantum means a packet, indivisible amount of energy. We need to get enough gas in our car to be able to make this jump. And so in order to make the jump has to be made in one leap. You can't go jump and a half, jump and a half, get a little bit further. No, if you're going to drive all the way across the continent, you got to have enough gas in your car before you even start out. So what you do is you get super excited. I'm now drawing this electron as if it's very excited. It's, having lots of food, it's having lots of money, it's having lots of sunlight enter it, and it's super excited, and it gets really filled with energy, and then when it has enough, boom, it makes that jump, and it ends up over here, okay? That is what we need to do in order to animate our little singularity point from here to jumping up and down and becoming here. You need to get super excited. How do you get super excited? So now I'll go back into some of my notes here. First thing is really good food. I already drank my smoothie. This was it was hemp seed, hemp milk, blueberries, and some frozen, non-dried, fresh cannabis buds that were from my garden from last year. So we already drank that. It's for level 2, actually. But I drink a lot. I eat a lot of good food. I'm like slender, but I eat a lot of good food. I just need to drink a lot more. Apologies. Thank you for understanding. And the food that I eat is as nutrient dense and consciousness dense as it can possibly be. So nutrient dense, meaning that it has a lot of nutrients in it, meaning life force, energy, and vitamins, and also calories. Like I eat a lot of fats and proteins and things that are a lot of energy in a very small package. And consciousness dense, meaning that I eat high quality foods or recommend to others also that you eat high quality foods that have a lot of light already in them. Like an example of that would be fruit or vegetable that's grown organically. It's got consciousness in it. I'm pointing at the sun. The sun is kind of behind clouds today. The sun puts its energy into the food, and then you eat the food, you're eating the sunlight. And that sunlight is part of what goes into your your energy savings account that, like that little electron, allows you to jump into the next highest realm. So you got to eat a lot of high quality food. High quality food does not include like Cheetos, potato chips, or, yo-yo ding-dongs or anything like that. No, nothing that is partially hydrogenated, no corn syrup, no sugar. It's not just about calories. Science says, how many calories is in this food? Science does not look at how much consciousness is in this food. So you have to eat enough food that has enough consciousness in it. That's food for your physical body. So when I first came here into a physical body, I didn't understand that I had to eat physical food. I was trying to just do the sunlight, and I didn't understand, like, why did my body feel this way? Why did it feel like very weak? Why couldn't I do a lot of stuff? Why was my body so small? And like I used to have super skinny arms. I used to have like no muscles. I didn't understand. I needed to eat physical food. So then I had to learn, you got to eat physical food if you're here. And then I had to learn all about nutrition and diet and what food at what time and what is right for my body. It was a whole journey that only really, it took me probably about 10 years to figure that out. And so I figured out what works for my body. but I don't try to tell other people what to eat for their body. Like I will not tell you, eat meat, don't eat meat, eat high protein, eat low protein, don't. I will not tell you that. You got to eat what's right for you. And what I will encourage you to do is eat the food that has the most consciousness available in it, not processed foods, but foods that have real consciousness and life force energy. And so I would say that I'm like a hybrid vehicle, like one of these cars. It's an electric car, but you can also run it on gasoline. So our bodies were originally intended not to run on gasoline. That's like a steam engine. You put coal shovel coal in the furnace, and it belches out smoke and makes the engine run like puff, 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 like, a Thomas the Tank Engine or something like that. And that is not the way our body was intended to run. It was supposed to be, and can still transform into, a clean running, called like solar powered, where you don't have byproduct, you don't have waste, you don't have belching out of smoke, you just have energy from the sun that enters into you, circulates through your energy centers, and makes work happen. That's what we're supposed to experience. That's like light for the light body. So I do both of those things for myself. I eat super high quality food for my body, and I also do sun gazing. Sun gazing is actually one of the next upcoming lessons for level 1. So that's why this lesson is not about how to. We still have to learn how to sun gaze, but just understand that that is the next thing. So if we're talking about learning a song on the piano, I'm like, hey, I'm going to teach you a chord called whatever, B flat, but we're not learning it yet, but you're going to need that for this song. So you're going to need to learn and master how to do sun gazing in order to fly your personal starship. And this is essential because our starship, when we fly, Aurora, this collective, we don't fly in a clank metal spaceship. We don't use like liquid hydrogen or dilithium crystals to power this flight. It is powered entirely on love. Love is a tone that we make when we fly through time. And it's powered on light. We travel on wings of pure light. So you don't have to build a spaceship. You have to do something harder than getting a metal spaceship and building it and filling it with, gas or something like that. You have to do something harder than that. You have to become a virtuoso on the level of your DNA and your consciousness. You have to learn how to eat nothing but pure light. And then when you master that, you don't have to be stuck to a planet anymore. You're on a planet because you got to grow plants. And if you don't have to grow plants anymore, then you are free, no longer have to be on the surface of a planet. So any of these conceptions that you might have, like, oh, you're going to build a big giant ark, a space ark. It's going to be made out of metal. It's going to have like farmland inside of it. And then you're going to grow your potatoes while you're flying to Mars or something like that. No, that is not what you are supposed to do on any level. You're not supposed to have to eat potatoes by the time you jump off the surface of your planet. So I also joke about this. You're not supposed to have to grind up all of your food into toothpaste tubes and eat it with a squeezy bottle while you're pooping in your space diapers and flying around in a clank tin can. That is not how you're supposed to do this leap of consciousness. And that's what this is all about. Flying Rainbow Lasagna is like preparing you for this leap of consciousness. I'm consulting more notes. Okay, so fueling up. So before I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I actually eat a low glycemic, low carb diet, and that's because of controlling epilepsy. But that's why I don't tell anybody else like what to eat. What works for my body might not be what works for your body. Where I eat my carbohydrates right before I do some kind of physical exercise or Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance. So before I go out for a walk with my dog or whatever, that's when I will eat, fruit, smoothie, a cookie, I might make my own healthy cookies, whatever, something that's sweetened with maple syrup or something like that. That's when I will eat a freely available carbohydrate because you're just about to do a lot of physical exercise. You need that energy available. So right before I do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, that is when I will do something like eat the cookie, drink a juice. It's just like you're going to do a workout. Think of it in that way and treat it in that way. So first I fuel up with physical food, and then I do sun gazing. So now let's talk about sun gazing, just very briefly. It is the direct ingestion of sunlight without having to have a chloroplast as an intermediary to turn it into a starch. And I do it and I advocate not staring directly at the sun with your physical eyes, even though some Tai Chi masters, yogis, there's a lot of different practitioners that do this. They advocate for that. I don't do it myself, and I teach other people you don't have to do it either, because this is not about physical photons going into your physical eyes. It is about non-physical photons like consciousness energy coming into your inner eye through here. So what I do is sometimes I squint my eyes, I wear a hat, I cover my eyes. And also like where I live, it's very, very sunny. In the middle of the summer, like I don't go directly in the sun. I go in the shade, like under a tree or under an awning. I wear a hat. I put jojoba oil on my face. Like I protect, what I'm trying to say is I protect my physical body. I don't stare directly at the sun, and I would encourage everyone else to similarly like be safe and in the way that you're practicing sun gazing. So every day that it's possible that it's sunny, I do this outside. The ideal times, the best times to do it are just as the sun is rising or just as the sun is setting. And that definitely the sunlight is filtered through many layers of atmosphere, so it's not that bright. You can do it at other times of the day too. I often do it when the sun is filtered through trees, or like I said, I put the brim of a hat or even my eyelashes. And the idea is breathing in the sunlight. So you can just lay out in the sun and get tan. That is not sun gazing, even though you are ingesting sunlight, and that's good for you. Sun gazing is when you take that tendril of attention that comes out from your inner eye and use that to connect to the sun. Like I was telling you, I'm tasting the sun. You literally taste the sun with your tendril of attention. And it's an exercise where you breathe it in and you make a loop. I have a whole class all about it, so I'm just describing it briefly to you here. I do sun gazing. So I eat my wonderful food. I drink my wonderful juice. I get out in the sun. I do sun gazing. It can take a minute. It doesn't have to be a huge, long, extended thing, or it can be longer, however hungry you are. And then like I'm fueled up. And then the next thing is, what is inspiration for dancing? Music. Music to me is essential for this activity. And I'm really lucky now. I have all these different online music services where I can listen to literally as much music as I want, any song that I want. It's like calories for my ears, but I didn't always have that. So that's why it's like, oh, it's so wonderful. So what I do is I have different songs that inspire me, and different songs are right for different times. Like sometimes you feel like angry and you need like Rage Against the Machine. Sometimes you feel very, relaxed and peaceful, and it can be whatever, a waltz from Swan Lake. Like I have different songs for different occasions. So I would encourage everyone to find their own playlist. And I usually use headphones to, not only so that I don't annoy my neighbors or other people around me, but also because it kind of makes me feel like the music is like right inside of my head. So I put on some very inspiring music, and all of this is about getting that energy to get going. And also, guys, it's a little bit of a rock and roll attitude, because what we're doing here is transcending a genetic invader, planetary invader, ancient AI, like the most malevolent, toothy monster, wicked being you could possibly think of. This is what we're doing. And I also have to say, my whole approach is not being a transhumanist. I'm not technology-based, and my collective is not technology-based. And there are beings that are here in this world that are trying to do something similar to Flying Rainbow Lasagna, like to make their own bodies a vehicle for interdimensional transport. And they use all sorts of technology to do it. They might have to drink a magical elixir and then put a, metal, wire goes into their head, or they put on a magical headset, or whatever, something goes in their mouth. And then they're like, okay, now I'm hooked up and I'm ready to do this. And my approach is very low tech. So I use the analogy of, there's a whole group of people that do this running. It's like 100 miles a day. It's a mega marathon. And there's some particular South American and Central American indigenous people that their people have done this for a long time, and they're really good at it. So some of the Western people, they go through specific training regimens at the gym, and they wear special shoes from Nike, and they've got high-tech, sports bras and everything that they could possibly need. And then there's this one woman I think she's Peruvian. She's a young woman in her 20s, and she runs and she wears nothing more than these simple sandals that are kind of just a piece of flat leather and rope that kind of ties around her toes. And she runs in modesty. She wears a dress. She doesn't wear like tight spandex type of thing. She wears kind of like a long flowing dress. And she came in third in one of these. She doesn't have a special gym where she works out or anything like that. She came in third in one of these very elite, athletic achievement things. All the rest of these people, they've got like a special backpack, the little water spigot that they're running for and everything. And she's just like wearing sandals and running in her dress that probably her mom made for her. So that's who I am in terms of Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And that's who I use this analogy, and I encourage you all to understand. You don't have to have any kind of fancy equipment. You do not need to have fancy microchips, a special diet. This is big too, because oh my goodness. So yeah, I need micronutrients. I need all sorts of things that are not easily available in the standard American diet. But you know what? I don't have a lot of money. It's not like I buy all these different supplements so I need to have this special supplement and I can drink this and drink this. No. No, when my body needs a particular micronutrient or whatever in order to build, some physical structure inside of me, I flying rainbow lasagna. That is how I get it. I literally bend and fold the fabric of time and space so that I can get that little molecule of whatever I need and bring it inside of me. All of this, I'm saying, not just because I'm so great. I'm telling you this so that you don't have to feel like, oh, Aurora, I'd love to do the flying rainbow lasagna, but I can't afford spirulina. It's very expensive and I don't have enough micronutrients. And all I can do is buy, whatever, regular potatoes. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm here in this experience to exemplify that, to live by example. It is not necessary to be fancy, rich, have a lot of money, have access to special nutrients. Like, I'm sure that it would be easier if we all had wonderful, fresh fruits and vegetables that were organically grown and had all the micronutrients we needed. Our lives would be a lot easier. But I'm trying to say, you can do it even if you don't have that. You can run the 100-mile marathon very effectively, even if you don't have fancy sneakers from Nike. And the beings that use technology, a lot of them are like losers. They're part of a lot of these occult societies, magical societies, where they're like, oh, when the moon is full, you must say this incantation, you must hold this special twig, you must do this and this. Like, that's all stupid technology. It is very limiting. It is very not the appropriate approach, and it doesn't actually make them better runners. The fancy Nike sneakers, quote unquote, do not actually make them better runners. So you can be a perfectly, you're free. You are a free runner or flying rainbow lasagna dancer when you do this. Wait, there's so many directions I want to go. Hold on. Because this is flying your starship. Please understand, this is flying your starship. So how does this work? You have your own particular vehicle, and your vehicle is a module that connects together with many other vehicles, just like cells of a larger body that then act together. And the modules that you're connecting with are not necessarily physical, they are based in consciousness. So you can be one cell or module of this larger vessel that is flying through time, space, and consciousness. And you can be connected to people from hundreds or thousands or millions of years ago who are similarly connected. What a wonderful segue into an image that I have prepared for you today that is from the ancient Mayan world. This is the tomb. Hope you can see this. Oh, come on, move it on up. There you go. I hope you can see that right in the middle of your screen. This is a carving. This is a line drawing that is taken as an artistic interpretation of a giant carving that's probably about 8 or 9 or 11 feet and many, many tons, that comes from the ancient Mayan Empire, I think somewhere around the 1500s in Central America. And the figure that you see here, the name is Lord Pakal Votan. I should write that for you. Can the text come up? How do we do this? Text. And get a color that you can see. I apologize for any of the other times on the other videos when you couldn't even see what I was writing because I didn't have a good color. Pakal Votan. Very inspiring figure from the Mayan world, that he was not only a leader, like a king or a ruler, but also a very powerful spiritual figure. And so this tomb carving, I think you can see, and I'll do a little bit of annotation, like here's the guy, here's the figure over here, and it looks kind of like he's maybe sitting on a motorcycle or sitting on top of some kind of an apparatus or an engine, and it looks like there's something going into his nose, and his hands are touching some kind of, different knobs or apparatuses, and even his feet down here seem to be touching pedals or something like that. So I bring this up as an allegory, not something to take literally, but for just to plant a seed in your mind of the idea that what you're doing is creating your own personal starship. And I have it. It's on Dropbox, and I have it on Patreon for anyone who's interested. So here's how I feel. These are my personal feelings on showing you the actual dance. So for many years, I didn't do the actual dance on video because I consider it to be very private. Just like I said, every time you do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, take it seriously because you're doing something for real. You're not just waving your hands around in the air. You're really affecting reality. So it's something that is private and intimate. It's like lovemaking. And I didn't want to make just like a sex tape. And it's also not something about my ego where I'm trying to say to you like, oh, I'm so great. Look at what I can do. My intention of sharing it is that I want to inspire other people to do it. Like if I could run a 100-mile marathon, I mean, I'm great that I could do that. And what I would also want to say is, you can do this too. This is not just for me. You can do this too. So I did do a workshop about this back in October, and a person in the audience videoed. So I have what it looks like to do. I did the demonstration of the dance, and I have that available for students in this class, and it's on a Dropbox link. So if you want to, you can see what I actually do. So for many years, I didn't show people what I actually do when I do the dance. And part of that is that I'm not just being coy. I want everybody to develop their own dance and not merely emulate me. Just like being an art teacher. Don't paint this painting. I'm painting this painting. You paint your own painting. You have your own unique genetic code. You have your own unique fingerprint. You have your own unique trajectory through time, meaning where you were born, where you're coming from, and where you're going to. That the music of my life cannot fit perfectly on top of you and your life. You have to figure out your own pathway. Your pathway might not be to have a studio and be an artist and paint paintings that are rainbow colored. You might have a different pathway. And I wouldn't want everybody to be a cookie cutter exactly like me. That is not being part of the symphony. Being part of the symphony is being a complete, unique person. So when I do the flying rainbow lasagna dance, sometimes I sit with my legs crossed, whatever, Indian style or whatever, like a person from the Far East. Sometimes I sit on a cushion on my butt on the floor and with my legs stretched out in front of me. And the point is, and sometimes I sit in my little, I have an outdoor rainbow chair that a wonderful student helped me to make, because the canvas of my outdoor recliner broke. So she made like a replacement that's all rainbow. It's wonderful. But when I'm in that, it's like a regular recliner that you get from Bed Bath & Beyond, for sitting outside. So sometimes I'm reclined, and it feels to me like I'm like Lord Pakal Votan. I feel like I'm in my starship. So I eat a lot of good food. I do my sun gazing. I put on my headphones with awesome music, and I get into my starship. And if it's too rainy or horrible outside, I don't go outside. I do it in here in the living room. If there's no sunlight to be able to eat, don't panic. I don't have my little crystal with me. I have a little Herkimer crystal. It's not little, actually. It is large. I have a Herkimer crystal that is very large, and it fits perfectly in my mouth. And so what I would do when I lived in Humboldt, where it's very cloudy, and upstate New York also, charge my crystal in the sun on sunny days. Then on days when it's not sunny, I would literally put that crystal into my mouth to have the stored up sunlight come inside of me as if I were sun gazing. Someone once told me, Aurora, practice safe crystal eating, because not all crystals are good to be exposed to your mouth and your saliva. They might have mineral occlusions that can be dissolved and come into your body that you don't want. So I put that out there, like safe sun gazing. Everybody practice safe crystal sucking. Don't suck on crystals that aren't safe, like something that's got pyrite or whatever in it, but it's just a pure quartz crystal or rose quartz or something like that, amethyst, generally safe. Okay, so just don't suck on things that you're not supposed to suck on. I feel like I'm flying my own particular star vessel, and that this is what I can inspire other people to do. That this is the whole point. I came here on a bridge of light powered by nothing more than the tone of pure love. And I encourage every single one of you to know that that is possible and that you can do it yourself. Because yes, I'm an interdimensional visitor, and yes, I'm a virtuoso. I've been doing this for 18 years, but I say that so that you can be like if you're a little child and you look at an adult who's like, a big weightlifter who has big muscles, you're like, wow, you have big muscles. Yes, they didn't come here with those muscles. They built them over time. So everything that I do, I cultivated, I built over time. I inspire you that you can do this too, like running a 100-mile marathon. It's not just for some people, like, oh, only that person can do it. No, many, many people can do it. Wait. I want more things that I want to talk about here in terms of, let me just keep going on my groove here. Encrypt your DNA. So that is a big one. Before doing the flying rainbow lasagna, I encrypt my DNA. And what does that mean? It's just like saying I closed the door in my studio. I don't want like the kids from outside to just waltz on in here and be like, oh, we'll just pick up some paint and start throwing it around. No, that's not allowed. So there's plenty of turds, plenty of occupiers of the interstices, beings who are consciousness residues, who are not supposed to be in existence, who would love to hijack your painting. They would love to be like, oh, you're doing the flying rainbow lasagna. Well, I'll just screw this up over here, make this look horrible over here, and now you'll manifest poop. Okay? So what is really crucial is for each one of us to encrypt our DNA. And that encryption, I've mentioned this in class before, can look different from person to person. Like for me, I might visualize an ever-changing series of numbers and letters that's kind of, plastered all over my skin and running all over my body. Another person might use a particular melody, a particular, and whatever is unique to you, that you say, that's my thing, that my combination that only I know, that I use to unlock my creative capacity. So no one else can hijack your creation. Okay, wait. So getting enough energy, like an excited electron, doing this encryption so that no one hijacks it, music as fuel. It's a multi-layered project that you add to over time. And this also relates to scientists' description of the time crystal. So you can just do a little bit of research on that. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a huge proponent of science, but it's interesting to me that they are now exploring or describing the capacity of a time crystal, which is a manifested object where there's one slice per moment, as opposed to here we're looking at an object, you see all of the molecules of this object at one time. It's like if you hear all of the notes of a chord, where's my music? What? Please turn it off? Turn it on. There you go. All of the notes you are hearing at the same time, as opposed to, well, we heard this note on Monday, and this note on Tuesday, and then this note on Wednesday. That would be a time crystal. A time crystal would be like understanding many events as being like a chord that we are only seeing in serial, moment by moment. So that it's in athletic achievement, that just like you get better the more that you practice as an athlete. You build more muscles the more that you practice as an athlete. You build lasagna muscles the more that you do this. So the first time you do it, it might be a huge effort to get that singularity jumping inside of you. Like, I'm going to do it. Or you might do it, like I was saying, the rock and roll attitude. There's a little bit of FU in Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And that is because we have this huge control system that's attempting to reduce human consciousness, reduce your freedom, make it so that you can't do and say and be exactly who you want to be. And when you start to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, that control system will rear its ugly head and it will come up and it will say, who do you think you are? You're not allowed to do that. Don't push that button. Don't pull that lever. You're not God. You're not divine. What would your mother say? What would your father say? What would your grandfather say? What would your priest say? What would the government say? So all of these things are inner control structures that basically say, don't be a divine being, listen to the control structure and maintain the status quo. And when you start to do this, have an attitude, be rock and roll. The rock and roll attitude was, kind of like rebellious against the status quo. No one's going to tell me what to do. And, it's necessary for innovation and staying true to your own vision. So I like to listen to rock and roll as some of the music that inspires me for that very reason. And one of the other caveats I will say is, in our world right now, we're coming out of this very satanic paradigm. I just need to drink more. Sorry about that. Almost all of the music that we have available to us, like, on the radio, on the streaming services, almost all of it has been influenced by Satanism. That means that the bands or the musicians that are doing the music, they might have had to make compromises, personal compromises, in order to even have their careers. They might have had to do sexual favors or even participate in murder or cannibalism just in order to have their careers. So this is very challenging because I come here to this world and I'm like, okay, I want to listen to some good music so I can dance and have a cosmic dance party. And I'm listening to this one song and I'm like, well, these people in this band, they did satanic sacrifices. These people did gang rapes. These people did this. These people did this. And it can be very hard to find any music that's not tainted by association with Satanism. And Satanism, in this class, you know what I'm talking about, the technology using non-terrestrial space races that are oppressing humanity, and that they act through technology, and they also are about sexual abuse and violence and drug use, which is also unfortunately woven into the fabric of what we perceive to be rock and roll. But it's also even in something like the classical music world. Mozart was a Freemason. And so it can be very hard, even if you want to find, I just want to listen to some nice Mozart, but then you find out the guy was also part of a secret society. So what I say to everyone in terms of finding your Flying Rainbow Lasagna playlist, you are allowed to divorce the music from the people that made the music and the context that it was made within. When I put on my headphones, I'm like, oh, I'm now listening to these abstract, sonic vibrations. I'm not going to listen to everything about who the person was that made those vibrations, what was in their heart when they made them, whether they were compromised as an individual, because literally, if I had to do that and I only got to listen to music that was made by uncompromised people, I'd have very few songs to listen to. I'd have to make all of my own music, which I'm in the process of doing. But that I'm trying to say, like, you want to put on Led Zeppelin, like they did all sorts of occult crappy stuff with Aleister Crowley's house or whatever. You can still enjoy the music of Led Zeppelin, even though they did Crowley stuff. You can still enjoy music that was made by people who had sexual indiscretions. Like, it's really challenging because I think almost all of these, well-known musicians, did things that are not in association, in alignment with divinity. And that was part of their elevation. So there's a lot of compromised people that put the music on the radio, and that's not exactly what we want to be exposing ourselves to, but it's almost like inescapable. So you get to abstractify a song and say, I'm listening to this song as a group of sonic vibrations in this moment, not merely the social context and the context in terms of identity of who made that song and in what context. Okay, you're allowed to listen to the music that you want to listen to, and that does not mean that you are worshiping Satan. Okay, next point. Most dances in this social context, people do dancing and they care about their appearance when they are doing the dance, not about how they feel when they're doing the dance. So a lot of dancing in this time and place is social posturing, like you go to the disco and you make sure that you are looking good and you're moving your body in the right way so that your proposed sexual partner will be attracted to you. This is not Flying Rainbow Lasagna type of dancing. That's why I was very careful in not wanting to be lumped into other videos where someone is sexually objectifying themselves. There's a lot of twerking videos. That is not what lasagna is about. It is not about saying, I hope my hair looks good while I'm doing this thing. It's about doing the thing, and the thing is magical. So this is a lot more about what you feel like from the first person experience and not about what it looks like from the world around you. So don't be caring about whether your hair looks good. I will tell you also that a lot of the body positions that I achieve are not modest. It's just like doing yoga. Like sometimes your ass is in the air. Like sometimes your legs are split wide apart. This is not me trying to be a sexual object and saying, look at my butt or something like that. I don't want to be misinterpreted in that way. It's just like if you're doing gymnastics or some athletic type of a thing, like, yeah, sometimes your butt is sticking out. That's part of what you're doing, but you are doing this for a purpose that achieves something, not just doing this to demonstrate yourself. So now down to the dance itself. So we have, my legs are clearly not on camera. And I'm wearing my socks because it's cold in the studio right now. But I dance with all four limbs and with my head. So we have hand, 1, 2, leg, 3, 4, and head counts as 5. And I count these as 5 contact points in the starship of my body. So these are kind of like the rules of how you fly your starship, with the understanding that I'm like a Harlem Globetrotter. So I don't know if you know the Harlem Globetrotters or if that's super out of date, but there's like regular basketball where they just follow the regular rules of dribbling down the court and making their baskets. And then there's the Harlem Globetrotters where they follow the regular rules, but they also do all sorts of tricks. Like they don't just pass the ball, they pass it around behind their back. Or if they're going to do a dunk, they don't just do a dunk. They do like first a triple flip and then they do a dunk. And if you ever watch them, they're kind of silly too. Like they do all these things that confound their opposite team that they're playing against, because they're like the other team is just a regular team, and the Harlem Globetrotters are like, oh, but I'm going to do and I'm going to jazz it up, and I'm going to be flying over you before you even know what's happening. That is what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is like. There, in terms of these 5 contact points, that's how you get your spirit into your body, or your non-physical body, or your pure body of pure energy is attached to your physical body through these 5 contact points: your head, your 2 arms, and your 2 legs, right? So it's just like Lord Bacalvo time. You're flying your starship by using your body. I have to drink water. Oh my God. I like emphasize. This is not about getting a metal spaceship or even working for some kind of a government program where they build the metal spaceship and then they say, we want you to be the astronaut. Come and get inside of our metal spaceship. This is not that. This is, you are the spaceship. How do you attach your spirit into the spaceship known as your body? And I do it like a Harlem Globetrotter, flying rainbow lasagna. And that means I do it in a very innovative and unpredictable way. So if I need to make the basket, I don't just do it in a straightforward way. I'm going to dribble the ball down the court and then make the basket. And from these descriptions, I'm sure you can tell, like, I do not understand sports. I'm just trying to find an analogy that we can sink our teeth into. What I do is do some kind of a crazy, dribble into the left, dribble into the right, do several flips, then make it to the basket and do the slam dunk, get the point. So in terms of staying attached to my body, because I'm flying rainbow lasagna-ing all the time, I can do things that are semi-attached. This is the best way I can describe it without actually showing it to you. So, and when I do this dance, my arms are doing different things than my feet and my legs. And I do this because there are certain movements that I need to do sometimes, like this, which is both erasure and closure, where I'm like making a measure break. And if I'm only dancing with my arms, then I'm like, oh, move, and then we do the measure break. But if I'm dancing with my feet too, it's kind of like I'm working the pedals at the same time I'm working the levers with my hands. I can keep on doing the melody and the rhythm with my hands, and I can make my feet come together and do that measure break. So I didn't start off dancing with my feet. I started off dancing with just my hands. Just like on the piano, I started off just focusing on moving my fingers. Then there are pedals underneath the piano that you can do in order to press the pedals to change the quality of the sound. Later, I added in the foot movements because at first it was enough for me just to try to, I didn't even do 2 hands when I first started the physical piano. I just started with my right hand. And then sometimes I would practice with my left hand. And it was a huge leap when I could play the piano with both hands at the same time. So this is what I'm saying to you in your personal flying rainbow lasagna journey of learning how to dance your personal starship. You might find it most effective to begin with just focusing on hands. I have another, Karine is a lovely student of this class, and she does not actually move her physical body. She just sits in meditation and does all of this as an internal dance. So I hold the possibilities for everything. You can either do a totally internal dance with no external movement, partial external movement, like I do most of my dance seated. And that makes it a lot easier for me to focus on moving my arms and my legs and my toes, because if I have to stand, I have to focus a lot on my balance. And it's a real challenge for me because I told you some of the neurological things that I've been through. My right leg and left leg don't always coordinate, and it can be very difficult to, stay standing and do everything like that. So I found it to be a lot more easy to, it's playing a musical instrument. What we're doing with this flying rainbow lasagna is playing a musical instrument, and it's also, it's like, flying a starship or something like that. It's also like being in a virtual reality. If you've seen some of these video games where you put on a headset and then it looks like you're in a starfield and there's things coming at you, and you might have to hit them with a lightsaber or do something like that. And the better that you get at it, the more points you get. That's exactly what my experience of flying rainbow lasagna is like. So the more that I did the dance, the more that my perception came online. I got better at seeing the inner world. I got better at anticipating the energies of the inner world. Once again, well, I'm not wearing the right dress, but this works. This is what the inner world looks like. And when I do the flying rainbow lasagna dance, I'm not just waving my arms and my legs around in a random way. I'm seeing an actual place, just like a virtual reality where colors and shapes are interacting with me, and I'm performing my dance movements in response to it or in rapport with these other abstract shapes. So a big emphasis, a big takeaway is that the flying rainbow lasagna dance is a partnerless dance, not like the waltz, where I am waltzing with my partner. I'm a woman and I dance with a man. Or even, what's another, I know, good, square dancing. Square dancing, multiple partners dancing with each other. You can't do square dancing just on your own. You have to have a whole group of square dancers. The Flying Rainbow Lasagna is a dance that you can do entirely on your own. That is really big because there's all this new age claptrap that I have to now call out about having a twin flame. Who's my twin flame? Where's my twin flame? Are you my twin flame? I can't do anything without my twin flame. No, all of that is like so BS and so wrong, because all of this is about finding your own inner connection to the divine and not requiring an external authority figure. So I don't have to have someone else tell me what to paint or what to play or when to do it. And I definitely don't have anybody, any taskmaster telling me when to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, how much or how hard. And that's a big one, because I've had these, inner, let me just drink. Whatever you would call them, like occupiers of the interstices, I think would be best. The peanut gallery, when I'm doing my dance, first of all, they might say something like, oh, you're 15 minutes late, you better get going on your dance. Like, no, they don't schedule my dance. I schedule my dance. This is it's like the difference between, maybe the more traditional viewpoint of when women are in labor having a baby, that the doctor will say like, oh, I better get this baby out so I can get to my golf thing. I'm scheduled for golf at 3:15. You better squeeze out your baby. As opposed to the woman saying, hey, this is my body, this is my baby, this is my birth, and the baby wants to come when it wants to come, and maybe you're going to be 15 minutes late for your golf. Like, don't use the forceps to pull out my baby because you got to go play golf. That's the difference. If I'm dancing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I'm like the woman having the baby. I'm in charge. I get to say, hey, I'm going to do it when it's good for me. And if you say, oh, you should do it now, you should do it in 15 minutes, you should do it at 11:25 for whatever silly reason, it's like, no, I feel like doing it now. And so sometimes, as I'm doing the dance, something happens. Like maybe, oh, I forgot to get my drink and now I'm thirsty. I got to stop and go get my drink. It's like, oh, everything in the cosmos is going to fall over on its face because I stopped the dance for a minute? No. And the cosmos actually says, oh, wait a minute. Aurora needs to go get a drink. She's thirsty. We're going to allow that to happen. We're going to accommodate that, because sometimes, you know what? Sometimes this person gets barking. And then I have to take off my headphones and be like, hey, what's going on? Why is this happening? Why so barky? And, she comes over and she says, oh, I'm so sorry. I saw a squirrel or something like that. Those things happen. And that's not an impediment to the music. That's part of the music. That's part of the music. That's like, or if you're trying to meditate, and your kid comes over and is like, mommy, I need something. That's not a distraction from your meditation. That is your meditation. So you have to maintain what you're doing even while you go and, attend to the people that you love and care about. So because I understand I have a rather free life as an artist and I can schedule my time as I want to, not everybody has that level of freedom in their life. So let's say you go to do your Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance and like, oh, your kid needs orange juice, or you have to do this or that or whatever. Don't think like, oh no, now you've ruined the entire symphony for everyone. No, that is not true. And so everybody you need to be in charge, and also claim your time, because I prioritize Flying Rainbow Lasagna dancing with my best energy every day. So it's something that I do every day, unless I'm ill, or unless there are some adverse conditions that make it impossible, like, if there's a flood or the electricity is out or whatever, you can take care of the things you need to take care of, like keep your household safe. Don't be like, oh, I have to Flying Rainbow Lasagna, then we'll bail out the flood. Like, no, don't do that. And sometimes I've even had to focus on mundane things like money earning, mundane activities in lieu of lasagna, which is never ideal. So, I would say to everyone, as much as you possibly can, schedule your life to be able to do the lasagna every day and prioritize it. But if you can't, then it's okay. And it just means like, okay, you'll do it tomorrow. And also, how long are my sessions? Sometimes it can be one song. Sometimes that's all I've got time for. But think of it like this. It's a magical activity. What matters is that you get into that mental state. So I get out of my ego and I get into this exalted mental state and I dance. And the truth is, like, I don't care what I look like from the outside. I feel wonderful on the inside. And I know that neighbors have looked at me. When I lived at my old place across town, I had less privacy. And there's one neighbor said to my landlord, it's like, Aurora's got some hand jive there. And they kind of laughed about it. So I'm like, okay, like they think that this looks bizarre or whatever. I don't care what it looks like to them. I care about what it feels like to me. And what it feels like is euphoria. It feels like, when they created these Catholic churches with the chanting of the monks and special music and special overtones, all of it was designed to bring the experiencer out of the mundane level of reality and experience of perception and into an exalted state where you're connected to the divine. That's what it feels like when I do the flying rainbow lasagna dance. And that's what I'm telling you. Like, you don't need any fancy technology. You don't need fancy tools. You don't need a giant cathedral. You don't need a section of chanting monks. You don't need magical elixirs. You don't need monoatomic gold. You don't need special Nike shoes and a special Nike sports bra to run 100 miles. You can do it with the most simple accoutrements possible. So I was telling you about my connection to my body and how I'm like Harlem Globetrotter. So what I do, what I mean with that is that I'm in my body, but I hop in and out of my body in a very unpredictable way that confounds my opponents as I'm trying to make baskets, running down the court. Wait. Oh, feet and toes. So I'm wearing, I won't show you my feet right now. And my feet are very large, and I think I'm part Sasquatch, and I have very long toes. So you got to work with your own body and work with what is right for you. One of the things that I had challenges with when I came into this body was toe congestion. Bent toes from wearing shoes that were too small and too pointy. Not me. The person who used to have this body did not find shoes that fit effectively. And other life challenges that had deformed the healthy expression of the toes of this body. And it's not just me. Many of us in the Western world around here, we wear shoes from the earliest part of our life. We are not connected to the ground, and the shoes not only cause the toe congestion where your toes are like stuck together, but also like sometimes they're all curled up. Some people have little pinky toes that are all curled up like little baby shrimp, and some people can't effectively spread their toes apart like flexing their feet. So what I had to do in preparation for Flying Rainbow Lasagna, like as I'm doing this dance, I'm like pushing and pulling levers with my hands. I'm doing the same thing with my feet. And I found that it was necessary for me to rehabilitate my feet so that my toes could actually spread apart and could actually bend. So I don't know what your guys' feet are like, but when I first got these feet, the toes just bent like this. They didn't bend at every knuckle. And it's been a lot of like stretching and healing work on my feet to be able to have the toes spread apart effectively and to be able to grasp something. So I did all sorts of stretching and dexterity practices with my toes to be able to dance the Flying Rainbow Lasagna the way that I presently do. And I would encourage everyone to do that. Spend time not wearing shoes. At this point in my journey, I will just confess to you that I find shoes in general to be so uncomfortable. I hate even having to wear shoes. So I live in a climate where mostly it is warm. I wear mostly sandals so that my feet can spread all apart as much as I possibly can. And in the wintertime, like sometimes I wear socks with my sandals. And I also I got some, comfortable walking shoes that just have a very wide front. They're not pointy, so that way my toes can move freely. When I do the actual dance, I have to take off my shoes and if possible, take off my socks. And if you can get those little toe shoes that have individual socks, socks for each individual toe and toe shoes for each individual, if you can tolerate that, that's a good compromise to being able to move your toes effectively. So yeah, when I lived up in Humboldt County, what I would do, because it was cold a lot of the time, is put a big giant puffy quilt in the dryer and get it all warmed up, and then take that warm blanket, and I'm all, warmed up and everything, out to my lawn chair, which was at the end of a field where it got a little bit of sunlight, and I would wrap myself up in the warm quilt, and then sometimes I would take off my shoes so that my feet were free, but my body was kept warm. So you might try experimenting with something like that, like keep your head warm, wear a scarf up here, bundle up here, but your arms and your legs are free to move, because it's like playing the piano, but the piano is not just with your hands, it is also with your toes. So my toes are very long, kind of like my fingers, and at this point now I have rehabilitated them so that I can bend them and move them individually. And that is a big part of, like I told you, I didn't start out with that capacity in this body. As I did the dance, my body changed and transformed. And so I encourage all of you to start off where you are in terms of fitness and accessibility, and then knowing that you will gain more the more that you dance, the more that you do this dance. We are all returning to our wild, undomesticated format when we do this dance. The action of doing this is bringing together spirit and matter. It is also the Rubik's Cube of your DNA, rearranging the Rubik's Cube of your DNA. So you're rearranging your body, you're rearranging the possibilities of what you can do with your body, like reformatting and changing the blueprint of your body, and also reformatting and changing the blueprint of events in reality. And that has to do with rearranging the events of the skin of the torus, which are the last moments. I'm going to get more into that in level 2. I know level 1 has gone incredibly long. And let me talk about kombuchas. So I'm the first flying rainbow lasagna. And you could also think of it, I say the flying rainbow lasagna. You could also rearrange those words and say flying the rainbow lasagna. I'm a pilot, and this is my vessel. This is my ship that I fly. And I'm the first one. I invented this. However, I'm not the only one. So I use the analogy of kombucha. If you have ever done a kombucha manufacturing, if you've ever made it, it's a fungus that grows like you make your vat of stuff that you're fermenting, and then the fungus grows on top, and it makes kind of like a disc. And that disc eventually grows to maturity, and it makes little offshoots that are called scobies. They're like little babies. And what you do if you want to have more is you take the little babies and you put them in a fresh vat of stuff that you're going to ferment, and then it grows to full capacity. That is how I view flying rainbow lasagna. I'm like the primary lasagna, and then everyone that I'm teaching this to are like the scobies, the offshoots, the smaller, unformed, new next generation that then can grow to full maturity. And growing to full maturity means you innovate. You come up with your own new melodies. You come up with your own innovative new patterns that add to the symphony of life. My guitar is back there. I would pick it up if my dog weren't on my lap, and I would talk about sympathetic vibration. That if I'm here playing this music with flying rainbow lasagna, I'm sending out these vibrations that even if I don't touch your body, even if I don't physically touch your ears, my vibrations are affecting you and your mind and your perception in your dance. And this is allowed. Even if someone is like, I hate flying rainbow lasagna music, it's so horrible, I'm still allowed to be like, I'm playing flying rainbow lasagna music, and that's okay because I'm allowed to play it. So this is the distinction between saying like, I try to control somebody else's behavior, no, as opposed to I have freedom of self-expression, yes. If I came here into this body as a form of free self-expression, and I play my music, like here's my song, that's flying rainbow lasagna, I'm playing my song, I'm doing my thing, and it's not like I'm singing against someone. It's not like I'm saying like, oh, I'm going to play my song against George Bush, I hate you. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like, oh, I'm singing against evil. Oh, I'm dancing against evil. Even though when I get going on my dance, evil appears. It wants to infect my art project. It wants to take hold of my studio. So and I'll get into how you actually do the dance when I demonstrate and show you this, but part of it is defensive movements, just tossing that trash away while I return to my actual dance. So, the interlopers tried to come into my studio while I'm busy dancing and singing and making wonderful artwork. What I would do is I would take those interlopers and I would swoosh them out of my studio and slam the door, and all of that would be a part of the dance movement that I'm doing. I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't miss a beat. That is how I do it with flying rainbow lasagna. So evil beings do appear when I'm doing my dance because they're like, oh, look, there's a juicy opportunity for us to mess up reality. And I'm like, whisk, shoot you on out, back to my dance. And that's another part of it. So the objective of the dance is personal self-expression, and that is totally ethical to do that. When you start to express yourself, you can expect resistance and blowback. It is appropriate for you to defend yourself against those aggressors. However, they will try to say like, I hate you because you're like messing up my world. And you're like, I ain't here to mess up your world. I'm just here to play my own music. That's the whole point. I, Aurora, am here on this planet to play my own music. I'm not here to mess up somebody else's world, but I understand that my music is revolutionary and that it changes the world and is highly inconvenient to the stupid losers on the membranes of death. So yeah, they hate it. They hate me. They hate the flying rainbow lasagna. They want to stop. They want to F it up. Don't let them. Work those defensive movements into your personal creative expression. And at a certain point, what we will be doing as a cohesive whole is all these lasagnas working together, confounding the AI with such levels of complexity that it doesn't know what to do, and having an effective immune system, keeping out the losers from being able to infect our particular project. So let me, I have to talk about this. Numbers are alive. Numbers are not merely dead symbol structures for an amount of stuff, like having 3 oranges or having 5 walnuts. Numbers are alive, and the behavior of numbers, like what numbers are next to each other in a particular string of numbers or calculations. Numbers have behavioral preferences too. So this is very similar to the blockchain. I'm not a proponent of transhumanism. I'm not a proponent of cryptocurrency. I use blockchain and cryptocurrency as an example of every day having to reach forward and do new and greater complexity levels of calculations. Every day on the blockchain, what is happening in the world of cryptocurrency mining is vast arrays, computer arrays, are calculating. And they're coming up with calculations that are the newest, most complex calculations they've done to that point. And they're always innovating. And that's part of what the blockchain is. So that analogy relates to flying rainbow lasagna. That we are, I am, and other lasagna practitioners are, doing this dance. I'm just looking at my notes so that I make sure that I say this right. Every time each one of us dances, we are rearranging the Rubik's Cube of reality, and we're creating new calculations. So even if you don't think that you are a very smart mathematician, you are on a cellular level. We are all on a genetic level, incredibly intelligent, incredibly complex, creating these structures that can be understood as calculations or expressed numerically. And numbers are alive, and we have a connection to those numbers that are alive. So when we start doing this physical dance, whether you move your body or whether you just move your cells and your DNA has a structure. You could call it sacred geometry, but I call it language of vibration. And even the structure of our hands and body parts, it contains phi, that's PHI, phi from Phidias in ancient Greece. It's a proportion of 1 to 1.618. And so if I look at my hands, this finger bone to this finger bone, this is 1 to 1.618. This finger bone to this finger bone is 1 to 1.618. Hey, guess what? This arm length is 1 to 1.618. This tooth is 1 to 1.618. We have these amazing embedded harmonic or geometric structures that are part of the structure of our body. So your hands are made of sacred geometry, quote unquote. Your body, your teeth, all parts of you, and your little vibrating strings of your DNA, you are made of sacred geometry. And when you move in these patterns, you are creating calculations. As I was getting the idea of vortex-based math, the idea that math can be expressed not just as Arabic numerals in a linear equation, but as a structure, like physicality of a polygon with vectors of force or dynamic lines of energy that go around that structure. That can represent addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That the shape itself is math. So start thinking of yourself as that way. You are embodied math. And every time you do the flying rainbow lasagna, you are reaching forward into greater levels of calculation density or complexity. When I say density, I mean like lots and lots and lots of stuff crammed together. Every time you do another layer of the painting is another layer of calculations. And they're foundational. They build upon one another. So it's like 1 + 1 = 2, but then we're going to take that 2, we're going to take 2 + 17 = 19, and then 19 + 20 = 39. So all of these equations build upon each other. And numbers are alive. That means they have a consciousness and they have a set of volition. And when you integrate your personal dance with the numbers that are alive, it's like being a good musician. You are making beautiful music and integrating it with the rest of the structures of the cosmos. So what I'm trying to say is you don't need no stinking CPU to have a lot of calculations going on. You don't need no stinking AI clank clank metal thing making these blockchain calculations. You can be the calculator. I'm the calculator. I'm the calculator. I do all of these calculations, and every day it's something new, and every day it's something unpredictable. I just have to rearrange myself here. Unpredictable and at greater levels of complexity. And this confounds the AI that runs on the status quo and predictability and patterns that have already been established. So every time you do the flying rainbow lasagna, even if you do it for 5 minutes or 5 seconds of the day, it's like, oh, you just did a set of complex calculations that is more than even a computer can do. That's what I'm trying to say. Planting the seed in your mind. Everybody here, or many people here, think, oh, computers are so much smarter than me. I'm just stupid and I just drink my coffee and drive my car and poop on the toilet. And that you think, oh, you're not good at math and you're not this, you're not that. No, I want you to know you are math, you are numbers, you are good at math. And when I do these movements, I do complex calculations that are the type of calculations that are like what an athlete does when they're playing a particular sport. You know, a basketball player or a tennis player, they need to take in a lot of variables when they're looking at the place where they're playing. They're like, the ball is coming at me. That guy's over there. That guy's over there. This has to move at this rate. This has to move at this rate. They don't sit down with a piece of paper and go like square root of 2, 1, carry the 3, and then, oh, okay, let me hit that with my racket. They don't do that. All of the expressions of math and calculations are done in the moment, on the fly, and they're expressed athletically. That is what my flying real lasagna dance is like. I do not sit down with a piece of paper and say 17, add 20, we're up to number 39, now we're going to do this. It's not like that. It is all intuitive. It is all in the moment of experience, and it's all something that I see. Like I see, that thing is coming at me. I'm going to have to do this as an expression. Just like a tennis player, that ball is coming at me. I'm going to have to hit it by going like this. So when you do your own dance, don't be concerned if at first you can't even see the ball coming at you. Don't be concerned, because the more that you do the dance, the more that you will get your perception online. So at first, even if you can't really hear the music, like just bop to the beat. Bop to the beat, just kind of get that beat. When I'm learning a song, sometimes I don't even know what note to play. I just listen to the beat. Then sometimes I can hear one note. I know that it's this note. So I just press that note in time to the beat. And then I might hear the next note. Oh, the next note is this? Okay. And then it might take a long time. And then finally, oh, I hear the next note and I get it. So you can do something similar in terms of building your perception of the higher dimensional world of pure time. You might not be able to see and perceive everything that's there right away. Don't let that stop you from even starting. Start with whatever level of perception you have, just feeling the beat and then moving into hearing a note and then moving into greater levels of melodic complexity. And then, understanding that you get better and better. Okay, I did most of all of the things that I needed to see. I want to talk about one more thing, which is collaborating with other organisms. So this whole idea of flying rainbow lasagna is blending together realities, blending together your inner world and your outer world. And it's not just you doing this, it is you doing this in concert with many, many other wonderful organisms, like the wonderful organism that is sleeping on my lap so peacefully over here. She does the flying rainbow lasagna with me all the time. Yeah. And so I joked about this too. When she does her dance, it's about manifesting and transforming reality. She's got her own personal agenda. She might want to dance and make it so that when she walks past the Chinese restaurant, that there's like a fried wonton that she can eat off of the sidewalk. That's her pinnacle of manifestation. Because I would buy that Chinese food, and every time I walk past there, she's like, it smells so good. I want that food. I want that food. And I'm like, tough luck. Like, I ain't going to buy that food. So somehow she did the flying rainbow lasagna dance, and she manifested a fried wonton, and we walked past that, and she got it even too fast for me to even prevent her from swallowing it. So she got the fried wonton, and she, manifested her dream. May we all manifest our dream wonton and actually eat it, whatever that is for you. For me, it's like unlimited art and music equipment and the capacity to, share my ideas and my vision with the world. It's different for each person. So what would the microbial version be? The microbe is like, I want a fried wonton. Well, the microbe wants a microbe snack. How about a redwood tree? Redwood tree wants what is good for a redwood tree. I'm sorry, I have to just rearrange here. I have someone on my lap. It makes it a little bit uncomfortable to sit like this. When we do this dance, we are doing this dance in concert with the entire symphony of life. That means that your personal agenda and what is important to you must mesh with and be mitigated with the personal agendas of every other thing that's here, including microbes and redwood trees. So let's say if my ego is like, I want to be rich and I want to have lots of money and poop on a golden toilet seat, and all I have to do is cut down like 12,000 ancient redwood trees in order to make that happen. And then I go into my flying rainbow lasagna dance, and I'm like, wait a minute, the trees don't want to be cut down. That would not be a success. That would not be good music. It would be like me playing a guitar solo, and the rest of the band is like trying to play some classical Mozart, and they're like, Aurora, that is not sounding good. That's the whole point. You have to mitigate your personal desires with the rest of all of the desires that are here on all of these species and all of these circumstances. I think I got almost everything. It's the easiest part of my day. We still need to learn Merkabah and sun gazing at level 1. Let me go through questions. Thank you for your patience while I did all of this. Oh my goodness. I know there's a lot to talk about. Thank you. So we're all the way back to here. Thank you. Pedro has a question. He says, so you can FRL with one singularity for your body, or with each chakra, or with each cell in your body? Yes, thank you very much. So I have this as the example of like what one chakra looks like. Let's find a image down here. I'm sorry, I'm like bending and squinting, but you can see what I got. Here, I will give you screen share. Here's an image of what, these are all of the chakras of your body that are usually nested together, like the nested Matryoshka dolls from the Ukraine, but here they are unnested, and each one of them has a convergence point or a singularity, and you can envision each one of those singularities dancing and transforming into an oscillating flying rainbow lasagna. And the center of every one of your cells also has a convergence point, a doorway to infinity, and singularity, or you know what I'm talking about, that is connected to the sun and the stars and consciousness, and each one of those can also vibrate. So yes, you can. It depends on how much RAM you have in your brain, like random access memory, how much processing power you have in your brain. So when you start out, it's just like you might be only able to remember 1 or 2 notes at a time in the song. But as you get better, you might be able to remember chords and whole melodies and everything. You can keep more things spinning at the same time. And then you can envision all the trillions of cells, each doing its own unique movement. They don't all dance in unison. They're not like the Rockettes. Kick left, kick right, kick left, kick right. All the trillion cells of your body can be doing something slightly different. And they can dance at different angles. This one's at this angle, this one's at this angle, this one's like this one's like this. Think about the levels of complexity that it becomes possible for you to generate with the several trillion cells of your body dancing all in these unpredictable patterns. I love you and I hug you. That is what I want you to do. So I am the literal antithesis of the invaders to this planet who are like reptile, draconian overlords, whatever you want to call them, who want to limit you and say, no, I am in charge of you and I only get to give you like 1 little crumb a day, and I'll dole out your crumb, and then you'll be like, please, please give me another crumb. Like, have another crumb. I'm like, no, I want to give you lasagna. I want to give you a big giant pan of lasagna and the recipe for lasagna and a tomato garden full of tomatoes that you can use to make more lasagna in the future. I'm the literal antithesis of the beings that want to prevent you from reaching your full capacity and, being a true artist and a virtuoso in the world. Hans, good to see you, and thank you for tuning in. Hans says, where does the non-terrestrial AI live? That's an awesome question. The answer is that it exists so it's abstraction that is not embodied. When it is embodied, it lives in various different containers that are kind of like giant servers, like a giant hard drive, that's an actual physical embodied thing that is technological. And it also lives as a software program that is running through DNA. So it exists in us and other organisms at the same time that it exists as like a box, a server, a mainframe. And even if you got rid of the box, the server, the mainframe, and you got rid of the DNA, you would still have like the melody, the song of poopiness that exists in that thing. So in order to get rid of that thing, what you have to do is dampen the song. Like if you have a stringed instrument and it's making vibrations, put your hand on the string so that it doesn't make those vibrations anymore. And I joke about that. I call it press and hold. Press and hold. Press and hold. Don't let that song be played. Joelle says, can you share your playlist? Or I will be happy to. I know it's very personal, but I have been in the mood for fun visit. So yeah, I'm happy to share my playlist. I find that to be the least personal part of the intimacy of this dance. So I will definitely make that available to other people. And I have eclectic musical tastes, and I have songs for every occasion. So please keep in mind that, because like I said, some days you need to rage. Some days you need like ballet music. Different things that inspire me. Genia. Genia says, this is Genia. in Kenya. Hello, Aurora and class. So nice to be here. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm so wonderful that you're able to access this. How does one explain to a small child who has experienced death of a loved one that we don't have to die without being the parent of the child? Really good challenge there. I've done a lot of professional babysitting and nanny work. And so I always made a distinction between the role that I played as like a loving, a guide, an adult person for the little one, as opposed to their parents. So I would do something like say to the child, like, I don't know what your mommy and daddy think or believe, but this is what I believe. Always predicate it or explain it as, this is your viewpoint, and it might be different than what their mom or dad or what their religion is showing them, and that you're not trying to say that their mom or dad or that their religion is wrong in any way. Just say like, oh, this is how I look at things. Because I was always I didn't tell children like I'm an alien. I didn't want to scare them, but I would, sometimes they would understand like I'm an angelic figure, or I'm not from around here or whatever. So I would say like, oh, this is how I look at things. And because the kids that I worked with also were very, you might call them indigo children or whatever. They were very psychically advanced, and they were really ready to be exposed to a lot of lasagna ideas. So I always did it in a way of saying like, this is how I look at things, not like this is the truth and you must believe it. And also making a big distinction between the role that I played, not as a parent. Like, I'm not their parent. I'm not there 24 hours. I'm just there for a couple of days of the week. So I made a very clear distinction on that, like, you need to listen to your mommy and daddy, and that they're the primary people who love and care about you. And then I'm like Mary Poppins. I'm a visitor who comes here and loves you and gives you like some new ideas and new songs to play. So I would say to, encourage you to look at it like that. Yeah. Melissa says, no, non-good food is anything that has artificial flavor and artificial color in it. Totally agreeing with you. She says, less toxins in food and water is good for you. Completely agree. So I need to avoid sugar in my own diet because it does not interact well with my brain. And so once I stopped eating sugar, I pretty much had to learn how to make all of my own food because it's an additive. Sugar or corn syrup is in almost everything. So what I would recommend to everyone, like, avoid corn syrup, avoid all of the processed stuff that Melissa was saying, anything that's got an artificial flavor or an artificial color. And once you do that, you just realize, like, you just read a label, like it's in almost everything. They put this stuff in salad dressing. So it's like, I don't want to eat that. So it's like, okay, fine, I'll make some oil and vinegar. I'll make my own salad dressing. You start to realize, like, you got to make a lot of your own stuff if you can't just buy prepared foods because it's in almost everything. Pedro says, yes, I think you're referring to the trauma ramas of the northern part of Mexico. They are very good runner. I know that I'm thinking of the name of the indigenous people. Tara Umara, because it's funny. So here's very briefly anecdote. The Tara Umara indigenous people, northern Mexico, they live in a place where it's totally like a desert and also in the mountains. So like very high, up, down running like this. And they have very, difficult conditions, and their entire tribe runs. Even pregnant women, old people run, everybody runs. They have very low incidence of cancer and heart disease, very high red blood count. And there were like these headhunters that came from the Olympics, and they're like, hey, you guys are really good runners, come be a part of the Olympics. So the Tara Umara, they actually participated in some very big races, and they didn't win. They didn't place first. And when they were asked about this, some of them said that they were like too humble because they don't run for competition and like self-aggrandizement in their tribe. They run just because they run. It's the normal thing for them to do. And then some of them said, oh, like we were just getting our stride. Like we just ran for one day. Like they're not used to just running for one day. They're like, oh, we thought this was like a week-long thing. So they didn't even, pull out all the stops. They just ran kind of a minimal amount. But Nike eventually made a type of running shoe based on the Tara Umara, even though they are famous for running without special shoes and they just wear sandals. So I thought that whole thing was very funny, but it goes to show you a different mentality on athleticism and competition, that they did not see what they were doing as something to say like, I'm so great, I want to win a race against other people. They see it as just a natural expression of what they do as a community. And they run everywhere, and they run like sometimes kind of like kicking a soccer ball, or sometimes they just run. It's just who and what they are. Kind of like, greyhound dogs, or some of these dogs that just run all the time. So Roxanne, lovely to see you. And she says, how do you dance, physical or in your consciousness? The answer is both. Because I'm always doing the flying rainbow lasagna dance and metabolizing on a cellular level, even when I'm sleeping, even when I'm driving my car, even when I'm doing the grocery shopping, stupid mundane stuff, I'm always doing the flying rainbow lasagna. So I can't always be moving my arms and legs in strange movements. I do it all the time on a subcellular level, and then I devote special time during my day to sit down and actually focus on the dance. And it's funny, when I sit down to the dance, so many distractions arise. People will call me on the phone that never call me on the phone, telemarketers. When I used to live in a shared house, it seemed like every roommate used that as an opportunity to, like, they have to knock on my door. Somebody needs to walk through my place. Somebody needs to, I'm like, oh my God, it's so annoying. So be prepared for that. It's like sending out a very good smell or a loud sound. You're like, oh, I'm starting to do this flying rainbow lasagna dance, and everybody can start to hear it and they can start to sense it. And if they ain't into it, they're going to be like, oh, I'm just going to come in and annoy you and make you stop doing your dance. So it's essential to be like, no, flying rainbow lasagna time. Like, everybody F off. I'm busy. I'm doing something right now. That was actually what made me move from my shared house, because I was so interrupted in my dance that I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't even do this. Okay. Pedro says, Lord Pikal, the famous Mayan astronaut. You totally got it, man. Joel says, that's fascinating. I've never heard of him. Yes, he is a worthy historical figure to look into. And I also recommend highly the work of Jose Arguelles. I don't know if I have to write it all out. Arguelles. He did a lot of work on rehabilitating the calendar, that system that we're using, return to Mayan calendar, and really fascinating interpretation of the ancient Mayan culture and how it relates to consciousness transformation that we're presently undergoing. So he's not on Earth anymore, a worthy teacher to look into, not a blanket endorsement, but I think he was pretty pure in his motivations and what he shared with the world. I'm leaning closer so I can see now. Chloe says, I get exactly what you were saying. However, I still totally want to see it though. Can you send me a link to the Dropbox? Thank you. Yes. So what I will do for everybody who's in this class is I have the video is on my Dropbox and has a link, and I will share that link with the archive that I send out in all of the emails to everyone. So if you're not on the email list, you won't be getting it. But like, I don't just want to put it up on YouTube. I don't want it to be like passed around on the internet for people to point and laugh at. It's not like that. It's, like some indigenous people, some Native Americans, they have various different levels of their dance. And some of the dances are for public display and public consumption. And they will do that, where everybody, including non-tribal people, can see it. And then there are some dances that are just for family members. And they might be ceremonial and they might be very personal. And they are not something for just everyone to look at. So I want you all to understand that is what Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance is like for me. That it is something that is only for intimate people that I'm connected to, that care about me, and that aren't trying to like sexually objectify me or make fun of me in any way. It is not on that level. It is something else. It is something personal to share with you. So I like to make it available to the people in this class, but I don't want to put it out there just as a thing for everybody in the entire world, because it's special food. It's not just, regular food. So Melissa, Cheeky's asleep right now, but Melissa is loving Cheeky's little outfit that I got her today. She does not like have to wear a sweater, so it's pretty extreme when she lets me put on her little thing. Pedro says, I remember you said that you were memorizing the taste of a favorite food to share with your higher dimension friends. Just sharing the image of junk food that's very tasty, bad for your higher dimension friends, like the real food is bad to us. So it's funny. They have the beings that I'm connected to that don't have bodies, they are way more interested in tasting real food that has real life force energy than anything that would be like a ding dong, ho ho, Twinkie, any of that type of stuff that actually doesn't taste good or interesting to them. So foods that are interesting, beings that don't have bodies or the higher dimensional self, peanut butter, olives, chocolate, high quality food, actually, not junky junk food. So I don't think they're really interested in junky junk food. Thank you for participating, Melissa. We understand that you needed to go. Pedro says, if the pooties can make noise, we can play the FRL, tossing the pooties. I think I will call the lasagna slingshot maneuver. I like that very much. Yes, slingshot. Joelle says, I don't think I'm on the email list. How do I get on that? Just send me your email. So if you send me your email and you're on the email list, what you will receive are 2 emails each week. There's one on Tuesday night that says, hey, there's going to be a class tomorrow. Visit this link. And then there's one on Wednesday night that says, here is the video archive. I do not spam anyone, and I don't sell your name on any kind of a list. Like, I ain't got the time to put together some kind of a MailChimp list. I'm telling you, like, I'm busy dancing like a lasagna. I don't have time to do this stuff with emails. Yeah, so just send it to me for anyone who's interested in that. I've used up 2 hours in talking about flying rainbow lasagna, and there's more stuff for level 2. Let me just take a brief poll here. Do you guys have the energy for me to continue talking for another hour, or should I table level 2 for another presentation? That level 2 is about the human endocannabinoid system and how that relates to the accumulated pain of the cosmos. So just taking a quick poll whether you guys have time, energy, and interest for me to keep going. Joelle says, I don't think I'm on the email. Joelle says, one food experience that everyone has to have is tasting the white fruit that's inside cacao pods, but that surrounds the cacao beans. She says that they got some from a friend's trees in Hawaii, and it's indescribable. I would love to try that. That sounds so amazing. Send me like the Dropbox file up here of what, for my taste buds of what that tastes like. I would love to try that. Yeah. I'm certain that there are some wonderful exotic fruits and other things like that, that it's like, oh man, they don't grow where I live, and I'd love to be able to try it. Yeah, Brandon says soursop, and I know soursop has wonderful anti-cancer potentials. So I know I've been very limited in the food that is available to me, like, here in Western grocery stores and things like that, and have not been able to be that adventurous in the taste. Like, it's like cataloging different tastes. So that would be wonderful to taste all these different things. Joelle's open for another hour of class. Susan, open to continue. Thank you. Madam Princess is sleeping down here. So what I'm going to do is end the recording for right now. Go on to level 2. Thank you very much.